Welcome back to the Authentic Human Podcast. I'm Michelle Vickers, and this is part 62, Story of Creation. So we are documenting the history of human existence, but also the existence of this universe and the creation of this universe itself. And so if you are enjoying this episode, if you're enjoying this content, I encourage you to go back and start from part one. And actually, you can even start from when we introduced the whole story of creation. But it's been a fascinating journey. And the way that the creator and the universal beings, because it's not coming from me, this is information direct from the universe and it's in real time. So I'm not getting it and then sharing what I've gotten. I'm transmitting, downloading, however you want to share, want to say. But basically, for me, I'm having a conversation in real time with the creator, with the universal beings, whomever shows up, because how the universe works is they choose the universal being who governs or who knows the most about whatever aspect of consciousness that they want to talk about, that they want you to understand. So that being shows up, right? Humans, we do it a little bit differently, right? We want the person who's in charge to show up. And when you really understand that there, as a universe, there is no one in charge, right? A lot of people think, okay, the creator's in charge. He's not. He's not in charge. He's here. He's created an opportunity for you to come and explore who you are. And that's what really we've been documenting up until now. And we've also talked about what stopped you from participating in the evolution of existence itself. And so let's see what happens in part 62. Let's see. So we've got, all right, we've got reptilians again. La, 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 la. Okay. It's always fun. My reactions are ultimately just because I never know who we're going to talk to. But when I know when it's reptilians, and yeah, it's interesting. So we're actually gonna, it's almost like a round table. Oh boy. Okay, we haven't done this before, but here we go. Um, Goodness me. So this is also recorded live in front of our private community audience. So mind the comments. I'm looking at all the faces of the people in the community. That's why I'm not looking at the camera, because it's way more fun to look at others than it is to myself. So ultimately, we've got reptilians, and what are the ones that we talked about in 2 episodes ago? Do you guys remember? Draconians. That's it. Okay. So we've got, oh gosh. Okay. And then we've got Angelics from the first and second stream. Okay. The reason, okay. And then the creator is also having a spot at the table. Okay. This is really important. And the reason that the way, so if you've ever seen a roundtable conversation, what they're doing is they're all showing up to share their perspectives individually and uniquely. So it's very different than any of the other episodes that we've shared so far in the story of creation, because what happens typically is, it's really interesting that I was talking about that just before, but that universal beings will collectively come together, right? I've been doing this for over 20 years, and we've worked together, and we've worked to hone our skills so that I can receive information, but they can share it, and we can work in the most efficient way possible, because that's the whole point of human existence, is efficiency. And so typically the universal beings will come together and they will transmit information unless there's a very specific group of individuals, okay, that have a specific set of information to share. But ultimately, they all come together to share the same information. Today is going to be different. It's going to challenge me in ways I have not been challenged, particularly on this podcast. And I've never done one of these live. I have done them, um, in person, but never live in front of an audience. So this will be fun. But a roundtable discussion is where each different being has their say, their perspective, and their it's interesting because it's not their version. Okay, this is really important, right? Because human existence, humans believe that, that whole concept of this is my truth, this is your truth. That's not what we're doing. Okay, when you have a round table, it's how each event, and whatever event that they want to talk about, but they want me to explain this to you very, very clearly. What they're doing is they're giving the perspectives of these universal beings on events that occurred. Okay, we're going to talk about one event in particular. I don't know what it is yet. They haven't shared that. But this is not about one group of beings' truth. This is understanding. It's their perspective on the truth of existence itself. Okay, so when an event occurs, there is only one way that it occurred. There isn't a whole bunch of versions of an event, right? So, for example, if there's a car accident, okay, and somebody gets hurt and it was caused by, whatever it was caused by, just because someone's upset because they've maybe lost a loved one, or, they're the reality is the event will always remain the same, but your perspective of how it impacted you is different. It's unique. Okay. But the event itself, it doesn't change the event because you're upset, because this person caused it and you no longer have this family member. But then there's another person who's like, well, it wasn't really their fault. It was something else. It's understanding that there is only one set of true events. And this is what humanity has a really hard time accepting. One event occurs, period. That's just how it works, right? So, this whole concept of quantum entanglement, where, you can come in and change an event, it doesn't work like that, right? What happens is you're creating a new event, but it doesn't mean the first one didn't exist and didn't occur. And that's where, science is misleading us in this. You can, how do I explain it? What they're showing me is, you can go back. So let's say you had an experience, 5 years ago, or you had an experience 50,000 years ago. It really doesn't matter, okay? Because you can be doing this as a soul, you can be doing this as a human, but you go back and visit that experience. And we go back energetically. In fact, we do this often. In our brains and our minds, we relive experiences over and over again, right? So you're going back. Now, depending on how strong your energy is, because most humans, our energy is not very strong because we don't believe it is and we don't understand our own strength. So we don't have the ability to create new situations from old ones unless we're living it in real time. I know that this is a lot. It's a lot coming in. Again, I've been studying this for well over 20 years, so I apologize, but at the same time, they're showing this for a reason, and it's very specific today. So ultimately, what they want you to understand, okay, is universal events occurred and they created different impacts for different universal beings. That's exactly what's happening currently for the human race. Okay. So this is why they're showing me, this is why there's wars in different parts of the world and they're not in other parts of the world. This is why there's famine in certain parts of the world and not in other parts of the world. But it's understanding that, I know that this is going to be really hard for a lot of people to understand. and to accept. But just because there's war on the other side of the world doesn't mean this side is not being impacted. It's being impacted, but differently. Okay. And here's the reality. Those of us that are living in an area without war, we will never have the perspective of those who are living in war. It's impossible, right? It's the same thing as, losing a child. If you've never lost a child, you will never have the perspective of someone who's lost a child. It is impossible, okay? But you can allow yourself to feel and embody compassion. Compassion is an understanding of where the other person or universal being is. Okay? Compassion is one of the 9 fundamental energies that this universe was built on, was created with. It's woven into the foundation. Okay? And so, what compassion allows you to do is see things from a perspective greater than your own. The challenge in human existence is that this was manipulated. And it was manipulated into the form of pity. And the thing is pity is really, it's the most dangerous energy in existence. Okay? It doesn't exist on a universal level. It is a completely mental perspective of events. And if every single human, for one moment in existence in time, if everyone was clear of the energy of pity, it would no longer exist. It would cease to exist because it needs human focus, just like judgment, just like anger, just like resentment. They need human focus because they're not universal. This is really important. The challenge right now is humans confuse compassion with pity all the time, right? So I'll give you an example. Let's say someone you know has lost someone close to them. Our go-to reaction as a society is, I'm so sorry for your loss. Here's the thing. When you're in a state of universal awareness, you have full understanding that that person left because their journey here was done. They were ready to move on to the next phase of their soul journey. Okay? It's a bigger picture. A lot of people are uncomfortable with the word journey. Why? Because they're uncomfortable with the concept that life will ebb, it will flow. It will fluctuate in all kinds of different ways. It's meant to be that way, right? We're not getting kicked. We're not getting, kicked when we're down, and we're not getting pummeled. We are experiencing exactly what we need to bring us to a level of awareness where we can accept our own greatness. Okay? So if that looks like maybe over the past 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, maybe the past year, you've lost a number of people that are close to you. It has been challenging and heartbreaking. Why go through it, right? But it's understanding that what they're showing me is there's a few ways that you need to see these things. There's a few ways that you need to look at them if you want to look at existence from a conscious perspective. And this is what most people are missing. They want to look at it from what you're losing, right? What a loss. What a waste of an opportunity. But here's the thing. Those are all pity-based perspectives. They do not allow for existence to be true and to be what it's meant to be. It's what holds you in a static position. You can't move forward because you're feeling sorry for yourself or someone else is feeling sorry for you. So when someone says, I'm so sorry for you, energetically, what they're saying is, oh, this must be so hard for you. I don't know how you're doing this. And it ultimately translates into, I don't believe you're going to get through this. I don't believe in you. If you feel sorry for someone, you don't believe in them. And is that really the message that you are hearing? It's not. I know it's not. Because here's the thing, feeling sorry for ourselves is easy. Very, very easy. Because we've been trained by masters. But here's the thing, it's not universal. Reptilians don't do it. Draconians don't do it. Angelics don't do it. Human souls don't do it. Why? Because it's not a universal energy. It is mental. It is human, and it is part of the manipulation process. Universal beings do not participate in anything like that. Now, they will bring it in, right? There are beings that have brought it here to ensure you play in it, right? They're the ones who basically run the world, right? We know that. We've been talking about this, all throughout the story of creation. And at the end of the day, what they want you to start to begin to really understand is your impact matters. How you act, what you say, what you do is actively creating the future. You are. So if you're using pity, right? Feeling sorry for yourself, we've all done it. We've all been there. But if you're actively using it as a tool to get what you want, you're saying you don't believe in you, or you don't believe in the people that you love. And this is what has to change. So so we're going back to the round table. Okay. And that was the creator who was sharing all of that. He wanted to give you a greater perspective of what we're talking about. Why? Because then you're going to understand the conversation that's about to happen. Okay. So the creator, yeah. Okay. So the first stream of angelics are going to start. Okay. So the first stream of angelics created matter itself. Okay. So they weren't first, and yet they were the first beings other than the creator to be created. But they weren't first because first the creator needed to create existence. He had to create a vibration. You can feel the energy of all this as I'm sharing it, okay? But he created an opportunity that you can feel it right away. So it's a space. And when I say space, I mean a group of atoms, molecular structures, okay, that are charged with a very particular vibration. And this vibration is woven through each of these magnetic charges, okay? So there are infinite amounts of it. But what's really fascinating is they're all connected. So they're magnetized, they're attracted to each other, so they stick together, right? It's almost like seeing like a bunch of fish eggs in the water, right? That's how it's kind of, but it's these, and again, I don't have a lot of scientific terms, so you're just going to have to bear with me on my lack of how you would, but that's a good thing. So ultimately, that's the first, energy was first, right? So this is before there's any physical manifestations, physical aspects of being. There was energy. And so the energy it's a mass almost of particles that are charged with a very specific intention to communicate with each other. Here it is. That's the secret to our existence. Every single particle in existence, it doesn't matter what it is, communicates with each other. Everything that happens to any particle in existence is felt by every other particle in existence. And so the angelics took particles and created matter, okay? But the matter is filled with the particles. So they're communicating with existence itself, as well as each unique. So what happens is the frequency of the vibration changes, right? That's how you create matter. You change the frequency, because when the frequency is unique, it creates a different outcome. So every frequency, right, becomes a unique experience. And that's really what it is. So every piece of matter is actually an experience that's been created in this universe. So those rocks that you think don't feel, don't matter, you know, you can take them and do whatever you want. They're conscious beings, conscious aspects of existence, that it's charged matter that has been fused together for a very specific purpose. Okay? Every element, every mineral, every liquid, gas, all of them, all they are is a collection of molecules that are charged with a unique vibration and frequency, right? Well, it's actually they're charged with a unique frequency, which then allows them to emit a vibration. And it is in that vibration that it comes to fruition, if you will. Okay. So the intention is set. It's not quite like a magic wand where they were like, oh, here's my, intention. But yet it kind of almost is, right? Because energetically, they're showing me what happens is, so if you're creating a certain set of circumstances, so this is the angelics again. So if you create a certain set of circumstances, so you want to create a planet, let's say. And so what happens is it will draw a very specific, no, we have to, they're showing me. So what happens is if you want to create a planet, you draw together all of the molecules that will fit the description of what it is you want to create. Now, this is really important. So this is where you're going to draw different minerals, gases. So then how were they created? So they were created before matter, right? Okay. Okay. This is fascinating. So the creator himself created minerals, gases, liquids. Interesting. And they're all just vibrations. And so they come to fruition by the angelics because their intention is to create something with them. So if their intention is to create a planet, but it's gases in the, like, they, again, this is like, a 30-minute, 40-minute episode. We can't really explain all of creation in this little bit of time, but it's understanding that the creator had already created the aspects of existence. So, you've got this periodic table. And he says, the periodic table is like, uh, it doesn't cover the minerals that are on the planet. It doesn't cover everything in existence. What they don't understand is that existence is preparatory for matter to exist. And when science is looking at it from matter first and trying to break it down, they'll never come to the full perspective, the full picture, which is exactly what they're talking about with this round table. Okay. They'll never come to the full picture and the full version because they're going backwards. They're going backwards. I just see it. It's like everything, all the pieces are just falling into place. It's also why this awakening, right? So many people are trying to go backwards to try and figure out, who we are and why we exist. That's why they wanted to tell the story of creation, is so that we can go from the essence first and come forward so that you actually have the full awareness and full perspective, so you can move forward. You can't move forward if you don't have the full awareness. And that's the greatest challenge with science. It will never be able to it will never be able to compete, is one word that they're saying. It will never be able to explain existence, but it will never be able to compete with creation itself, right? So there's a lot of aspects that they try to replicate, but they will never be able to create from matter itself until they understand the purity and the intention of matter. And once they have embodied the purity and intention, then they won't be trying to manipulate it and misuse it. So it's also very interesting. Okay. So we have the creation of existence, with the creation of particles of existence, and then the creator himself. It's like each of the molecules, the minerals, everything in existence, it's funny. It's like I can taste them. Like he's showing me he could taste them. And what that means is he used himself as the word, whatever he needed to feel, he included that in creation. So, let's say it was magnesium, or it was silver, or, it was different gases. He could taste them. He could feel what they brought to existence. Okay. And so this is, it's really interesting. So what he's saying and what he wants to help you understand is existence is the sum of its parts. Okay. And once the parts were engaged, so they all became charged so that they would attract or they would group together. And then what happens is when an intention is made, right? When you make an intention at a universal level, so you have this extreme clarity. We work on that kind of stuff in my origin training community, which is, higher level, right? We're coming back and we want to participate in existence at the level of our soul, because that level is where the angelics are creating matter, right? So they'll set an intention and those particles will come together. Okay. Now, this is the really fascinating part. There's no limit on the amount of particles that are created. So it's not like physical existence. And this is the creator saying this is probably the most important part of this whole conversation. So when he created existence, it has the capacity to multiply. but not driven by someone. It multiplies, gosh, from the purity of intention. And the purity is the key word there. So what that means is the original, when they were saying, right, the space was created for existence. And all of these molecules are created. They are self-replicating. Okay. So, and there's no limit. And that's the really important part, because when the angelics came in to create matter, they would create matter by bringing these molecules from existence together. But this is really cool. But how they come together is, it's like this process. It's so, it's almost like it's not a vacuum, but it is a vacuum in the sense that they all come together to one space. But they're intelligent. So each aspect, each molecule it has its own intelligence. And what it means, right? Again, so each molecule has been created to communicate with other molecules, right? So that's an intelligence. And it's that intelligence that these molecules know what they need to do, how they need to do it, when they need to do it, because the intention for that experience. So let's say they're creating a mountain, okay? They will know how to, first they know which ones need to come together. So they know, the different types of rock that are going to come together. But they also, boy, okay, you have to bear with me. This is a lot, even for my brain. I'm just like, wow. So they know how to come together, when to come together, but they also know what evolution is going to offer them. So, we've got billions and trillions of year old mountains, but they weren't mountains and then they were mountains. So they knew it could start here and then it's going to grow, or it's going to fall, or it's going to change, right? They know where the water needs to run through them. They need to know, they already know what the temperatures are going to be, right? They know all about this, like how compacted it is, how not compacted, if there's caves inside, because the intention of the creation itself comes back to the universal perspective of balance. Again, balance is one of the 9 fundamentals. Balance understands that existence is in this one magnetic state. And when there's too much of something and not enough of something else, that state is off, right? And so there needs to always remain balance. That is one of the big reasons, right? All of the 9 are all different reasons, but balance is a huge reason why all of these molecules communicate with each other. It's also why, exactly the same, your body, right? Your physical body is created by these exact same molecules. Every single one. Now, do you have, how he's saying it? So it's the creator, but it's also understanding that, the angelics created human form. They created that opportunity, right? It's beautiful. But it's understanding that within you, you have every aspect of existence. Every human body does. I know that that's hard to believe because our brains are like, but there's things that are poisonous to us and there's things that are, every aspect of human existence, of universal existence, is encoded into the vibration of the cells in your body. This is so you can speak to the universe and the universe can speak to you, right? It goes back to the same we've heard this talked about with water, right? People have done documentaries when you talk to water, and how it reacts. Your body is 80 to 90% water. It's the same thing, but it's understanding that everything is about communication. And at this level of perspective, okay, this is where the round table comes into play. So they gave you that window into creation so you could understand that when we have a round table and there are different streams of conscious beings, whether they're from this universe or not, communication is always pure. That's the key. It's always pure. There's no pity. There's no drama. That's what humans are known for. So when they're sharing information about their experience, their reasons for doing things, there's no attachment to the outcome, because that's not what existence is. It is not attached to an outcome. It's understanding that existence is an evolution, and it is an evolution of the energetic frequency and vibration in every single aspect of existence. That's evolution. And it's how those cells and frequencies, right? How every one of them communicates with each other. That's why, in order to create the greatest manipulation in the history of existence itself, the number one thing that needed to be done was to cut you off from your connection with other humans, was to cut you off from your connection with your soul. And this is not about bringing big groups of humans together, because that's going to fix it. It's understanding that it's an illusion that they've cut you off. There's no such thing as cutting anyone off. And that's what they're all sitting at the table saying. That's what the reptilians and the draconians and the angelics, they want you to understand that no matter, the reptilians are saying, no matter what we do, we can't take your connection away. We just created the illusion that it doesn't exist. Why? By telling you that you have to, well, first and foremost, they did it. The first step and the first stage was planting, right? Information, planting the awareness that there's a greater force outside of you that you don't have access to. So they created the illusion through religion that God is an external source. The creator is external, however you source, whatever word you want to use. And so in doing so, they took your authority. Okay. And what they mean by that is, your authority. And authority has nothing to do with power over others, right? That's how it's been manipulated again. It's right up there with compassion being manipulated with pity, right? The concept of control and power over people comes from really a fear of not having enough. Because the only time you'd ever want to have control over someone else is because you fear you don't have enough. When you understand existence and you understand the flow of energy and universal awareness, you have zero need for anything, because you understand and recognize and know that everything in existence is at your fingertips. And ultimately, that's where we're going. That's where we have to go as a human race. We have to reclaim that knowledge, that wisdom. That's the history of our origins. That's why we were created. And until we reclaim that, and what they mean by reclaiming is literally you walking around knowing that that is the only aspect of existence. But right now, you have a whole bunch of different stories in your head. Those are all your beliefs. This is why they were saying there's no such thing as beliefs. Beliefs are what's blocking you, right? There's no such thing as beliefs on a universal perspective. Okay? There's perspectives of experiences, but universal beings do not hold beliefs. They hold awareness. Awareness has no attachment to the outcome, and it certainly has no expectations. But every single thing that humans do have attachment to outcome and expectations because we've been strategically trained to do so. So, okay, this is a really long one already. I was going to call it, but the Draconians do want to say one other thing. So they want to share their intention, right, to create the concept of leadership, the concept of having a leader was again highlighted. So here's the really cool thing. The Draconians and the Reptilians didn't so much as work together, but their work enhanced each other's work. And this is really important. If you can go back and listen to the last, 10, 12 episodes, so you can hear exactly what the intentions of both of those groups of beings is. But right now, what they want to help you understand is existence itself gave them the opportunity to come in and play. That's what they're here to do, just like you. And so if you continue to feel sorry for yourself or angry because of what they chose to do with their playtime, if you will, then you're not moving forward, which is exactly what they tried to do. It was so easy. It's all they had to do was to get you to focus on what they were doing. So you'd stop focusing on understanding who you are at the core of your existence. And so that's where we're going now. That's where we're going. We're going deeper into that recognition of the core of your existence so that you can begin to relate to yourself in the way that you were created. So you can recognize the value of your own existence from a perspective you never would have had without the truth. Because you can't see that truth if you're looking at it from a human mind and human mental perspective. Now is the time for you to understand the correlation between the frequency and vibration of who you are at the core of yourself. That's your soul. That's your vibration, right? Your soul is a collection of unique vibrations and molecules that they were set aside into, it's not a grouping, it's a collective almost of unique vibrations, because that combination, that mixture of existence is what was needed to create balance in the greater universal experience. That's how you came together. We're going to go deeper into it. We're going to build on this and we're going to break it down even more, okay? Going forward. But I thank you for being here. I know a lot of these concepts are challenging. Some of them are quite general still. We have to stay in the general so that you get to that place where your brain is like, okay, I'm ready for more. And yet some of them are challenging everything we know. And I thank you for watching. I'd love to hear how this impacted you, how it made you feel. Share it below. And if you know anyone that you think maybe, just maybe, this information will help them, please share it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. I'm Michelle Vickers. Bye for now.
If the creator created the molecules and everything in existence, Draconians and Reptilians are not part of the creator's molecules, right? They're not part of their frequency or vibrations. how are they allowed to manipulate our molecules if they just sat at the table?
Yes, such a good question. So anybody from any universe can come play here. Our borders are not closed. They're open.
So the creator can just sit there and go, yeah, you're not playing with those blocks like I had thought people should play with.
Because there's no control here. He doesn't have control. There's no intention for control. The intention is free will. And he ensured, that's why those 9 fundamentals are vital to existence, because it's up to us as individuals to decide what experience we're going to have. So there's not somebody up there protecting and watching out over us, right? This is, again, this whole concept of religion. Like, I'm going to watch over you, and I'm going to come save you if you need to be saved. It's not that at all.
What is actually meant by intention? I think of intention as, I want a beautiful home in Hawaii. I want.
That's a wish.
A wish, okay.
That's a wish.
Intention, I intend to eat this banana right now. So what is intention?
So intention, this is a great question. Intention is recognizing that you have an interest in an experience and you want to participate in that experience. So you set an intention. So you set, it's not guidelines, it's more of a vision energetically of what it is that you want to experience, and then you 100% participate in it as though it's a fact. It is coming to fruition. There is no other option or opportunity. It just is. So if you want, a beautiful home, the universe is going to say, okay, so, here's an opportunity to make money. Oh, and here's a connection that you're supposed to talk to this person. You don't even understand what the connection is. That problem with humans is, well, I want to know why I need to talk to that person, because do I really have time? And maybe it's not the right person. And oh gosh, I don't like how they talk to me. When that person would have been the right person to deliver exactly, right? So
thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to learn more, head on over to michellevickers.com. Join our mailing list to receive new episodes right to your inbox, or apply to be a guest on the show. If this episode made you think of someone while you were listening, forward the link onto that person with a little note about why it made you think of them, because the greatest gift you can give another human is to see the beauty and purity of who they truly are. Until next time, stay curious.